Aloha everyone. So this video is in about what it's like to be an American immigrant in Ireland. um, I have a whole appreciation for what other people do to make it to America and all the things that they do to just get by or just make a new start. And I just got off the phone with my good friend Valerie Marks, who is watching. Hello, Valerie. And yeah, uh, if every American had to immigrate to another country to figure their way in a system where it's different, they all speak English here in Ireland, but guess what? It's with a thick Irish accent, and it's not always the easiest thing to do. But I am grateful because I did get a job today at this fancy smancy restaurant. I thought I was going to be a server until I started to shadow what is called, for those of you who have not worked in restaurants, when it's your first day, you are basically someone's shadow. You follow one server around, see what they do, all that stuff. And the pace of this restaurant was so crazy that if I was this guy's shadow, I was falling way behind. So he had like this really long shadow way behind him. And then when I did catch up to him, he's at his kiosk, like punching in all these numbers, like bam, bam, bam. And I'm just like, what? And I didn't even hear his whole spiel to the table. This menu has all kinds of fancy French stuff on it. And I'm just like, what? The front door. So, I, I, there's an addict, not an addict, an attic, that I discovered because somebody was bringing in wine. And so I was tasked with the assignment, since I was wandering around all lost, to take this wine to the attic. And in that space down below, I was like, oh my God, this is a place I can escape for like a few seconds. So I was in the attic of this restaurant. And I've been in restaurants many, many times for many, many years. And the thought was occurring to me, what am I doing in another restaurant? And in this time, older too. So I'm an immigrant, an illegal immigrant, because I have no legal work visa to work here, but I'm figuring it all out. It's step by step, the way an immigrant would come to my country and figure out, okay, what do I need to do to make it? And so I'm having that experience in reverse. I knew that coming here was going to be tough, but I also knew that it was an opportunity to grow. And so I don't just show you guys videos where I'm looking all dapper in a museum talking about whimsical stuff that I love, but I'm also here to inspire you to follow your bliss by setting my own example and letting you know that it's not always easy. And, my struggles are probably not even anywhere remotely close to what other immigrants have experienced coming to my country, or what many of you are even experiencing out there. But I am here to tell you that there is a middle ground. I do receive help from outside sources. I'm not the all too knowing man behind the green curtain. Friends like, my friend Valerie and even her husband Jimmy have just been instrumental in keeping me optimistic and being on my side and letting me know that I'm not alone, because I've spent so much of my journey doing this all alone. And I definitely want something different from my life. And being out here has made me realize that there's no way in hell I'll ever go back to my old ways. Because, everybody has old ways, and that's how we figure out what it is we truly want. I've been experiencing so much of the same stuff that I'm absolutely sure I'm totally over. And this is all part of the process of growing. You gotta crack some eggs to make an omelet. So what's all being said? Hey Alex, did you move there or are you just visiting? Well, it's a little bit of both. I'm figuring it out as I go along, but for now I am definitely there. Hello Noel. I mean Nichelle. Sorry. Can't read. My eyes are a little blurry. Yeah, but the point is I'm doing this because I want everybody to win. I have been an underdog most of my life. And so I know there's a lot of us out there, and I don't know how many people are attempting to do what I'm doing, but I can tell you that there's a side of me that loves when I educate, when I share all the knowledge that I've acquired with all of you and get your comments and your love and your support. And then there's another side of me that is in the background doing the stuff that we're all doing, trying to figure out how do I make a new start. And I think the number one key is not dwelling on the cards you were given, but rather seeing what the best hand you can make with those cards, and forgiving yourself for whatever choices you made that may have you, and I'm really just talking to myself here, but forgiving myself for the choices that I've made that created the kind of past that I had. Because I forget who says it, but forgiveness is never for the other person, it's always for you. And so that's how you heal those wounds from the past. And until they're healed, you don't really know what's still spinning around there until you push yourself over the edge like I've done. And so yes, I'm an immigrant in Ireland as an American, while most Irish would be falling all over themselves to have a chance just to come to America and work it out, or switch places with me citizenship wise. But it's not about that for me. I make these choices to get myself into these situations. But I'm a Sagittarius. We're a fire sign. We don't run from fire. We run towards it. And sometimes kicking and screaming, but we run anyway. And that which does not kill you does make you stronger. And a little bit stranger, but that's, that's just the seasoning of that life sprinkles on all of us to make us uniquely our own. So if anybody has any questions about what I am doing, what I've experienced, I am at this restaurant, you can Google it if you like, called Trocadero. It is in Dublin 2. Dublin is broken up into sections that range from number 1 to I think 35. But that's basically their postal codes. And I'm in a section called Dublin 2. And right now it's the holiday season, so these places need help. And I just went a couple of doors. I went door to door yesterday, and I got a chance to be interviewed that day, so I took this job. And so now I am working for this restaurant. I have no even idea how much I'm making. I'm not even in the system yet. I just said, yes, work, I'll take it. And so that's kind of how I operate. You just go for it and say yes to life, and life will say yes right back. I'm not going to say it's not easy. I had some waterworks going earlier, but you just suck it up, and I don't always tell myself, suck it up, pansy. But sometimes I do, and whatever it takes to just make it to the next day and give thanks for today and my health, and the fact that I can still move around. That's life in movement in each of us. That part of us that just says, I'm not going to curl up and die. I'm going to curl up and feel like I'm dying when I go to bed tonight, but I'm not going to just curl up and give up. So I am making a new start of things. I'm recreating a life for myself, figuring out what I want based on doing so much of what has not worked for me and what I no longer want. And when you just go in a direction that is the little glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel that says, this is where I think my happiness could be, doors will open. Just like the one that opened to me in this crazy restaurant that I got hired in that's so busy. And I have no idea what's going on. And people have these accents the way I imagine that immigrants come here and hear our accent. But I so many times today, I'm like, what? Excuse me? Huh? I just, like, I know it's English, but it's different. Trust me. So, new start is to require one first, then think it, then let it go, then watch it come in action. Mandy, thank you so much for that. No wonder your last name is Gold, because that was pure gold right there. So thank you for sharing that. Where did you leave from in the USA, and what made you, and why pick where you did? As new watching in from UK, I am curious. So, to answer your question, I left from a little town in California called Paso Robles, California. It's in the Central Coast where they primarily produce wine there. And I've kind of California. I'm originally from San Antonio, Texas, but I've lived in California almost more years than I've lived in Texas. What made me move out here? Well, I made a friend out here, and the idea was to have somebody on the ground here who could say, like, hey, you can start here, you can figure things out. People are nice, and they are. Irish people are so nice. If you have the opportunity to come, do it. I swear to you, they're the nicest people. Always willing to help, so kind. You know, every place has those guys, but there's more not than there are the ones that are not nice. So, yes, originally the idea was to go to China to teach English, because China is in need of English teachers, and I was going to fly out there. I was going to be put up in a place to live, and have a stipend and teach so many classes a week. But I had a good conversation with my best friend, and she's like, well, if you prefer Ireland, why put another country in between you and what you want? So just go for it. And so I did, and I am figuring it out here. I started off by staying in hostels in Dublin. I think hostels are the way to go. Even if you can afford a hotel, stay in a hostel, because you meet so many people that way. It's interesting. I mean, it's kind of like an institutional setup with like I've been in hostels now with 16 bunk beds in them, and as little as 5. In fact, while I'm on the subject of hostels and the UK, I'll share a story that I experienced in a conversation I had with someone from the UK. So I was fortunate enough to be in a hostel that only had 7 beds this time. I was bed number 7. And this family, this group of men, it was 3 generations, father, grandfather, and the kids, were all in this hostel, and they were showing the kids who are in college now what it's like to be in a hostel, because they're going to start traveling soon. So they can definitely afford a hotel, but they decided as a group and as a group of men to stay in a hostel. So one night, all the guys go out except for the grandpa. And so he and I get to talking, And it turned out that he had recently lost his wife. And he explained to me that she and he had plans to travel the world. If anybody's ever seen the movie Up, he's basically the old man in the couple at the first 5 minutes of this movie. They always said, well, someday, and, someday came and went, and before they knew it, they were both old, and she fell ill and passed away. So he told me, well, I told my son I can either shrivel up and die in a corner, or I can go exploring like I always told myself I would, and like my wife and I promised each other that we would. And it's never too late. And so he told his son, I'm going to Venezuela because I'm going to go see these waterfalls. Apparently, whatever waterfalls he went to go see, they dwarf the Niagara Falls. So, and he showed me his passport, and bam, 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 he was traveling all over. He's been to St. Petersburg, Russia, and Cuba, and Thailand, and China. Everything that he did not do while he had the chance to do it with his wife, he is doing now. And let that be a lesson to all of you. If you don't think there's time, someday is going to come and go. And that's why I'm here, is because I could still be trying to struggle in the United States like I've been doing. But I've also wanted to see the world. And Ireland just seemed like a pretty good start, and that's where I'm at right now. So I hope that answers your question as far as why I'm out here. I'm really just living my dream, and it's not easy, but here I am. So this, I'll just cut it brief, but just to let you know, I am an American having an immigrant experience in a European country, because Ireland is part of the European Union, and I am still in the mix. I am learning how to really just figure out what is important, because money is a little tight, but I'm sure many of us are no stranger to that. But yet I'm in Europe, so in the middle of winter, and it's gray and it rains a lot, and but occasionally the sun does come out. So when it's not out, I just provide my own sun. But hello, Agat, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But does anybody else have any questions for me? If not, I'm gonna cut this brief. But I appreciate the support that I'm getting from you. I will likely return to that museum, find another a painting or subject to speak on, or something around Ireland. There's so many interesting things about this country, who's experienced a lot of oppression itself, so they have their own stories. I mean, life's tough, but we have each other, and that's the kind of world I want to build through my vlogging, through the book I've written, through another one I want to write, is how do we look at the world, how it is, and how cold and impersonal it can be, and open ourselves up to turn to our brother and sister and say, how can I be of service? And that's what I'm doing. That's why I do this blog, honestly, openly, is because I want to see how can I be of service to all of you who follow, all of you who have your own dreams and ambitions that you're wanting to do, and you're thinking, how am I ever going to do it? Well, there's this guy out here who's like, I have no idea how I'm going to do it, but I'm just going for it. Because I'll never forget that gentleman from England. That was a tragedy that he could not travel to all these places with his wife, but he still didn't stop him from traveling. He chose not to shrivel up and just go quietly into that night. He's doing it. And so whatever you're after, go for it. It's not going to be easy. in order for you to be born into the life you want, you have to die to the life that you are currently experiencing and probably dreading. And dying is not easy, but the more you do it, it does become easier. I know that I'm definitely dying to aspects of my own personality and psyche that just no longer serve me and no longer serve the greater good. So whatever I can do to continue to inspire all of you, I will do that. Are you here long term and on a green card, as I would like to go USA, and I'm working out how to? I may be long term. I don't know yet. I know that as an American citizen, I'm allowed to be here for 3 months, and then I got to go back. But there's ways around that, and I'm learning about those. And I feel like those options that are popping up are clues as to what my next course of action will be. Because, I'm in this crazy restaurant right now where all the Irish actors go, which I wouldn't recognize one of them, But I did meet the chief of police today, totally by accident. It's just a guy walking out, shaking my hand, and a server says, "You'll want to get to know that guy. He's the chief of police, so if you ever get in a spot of trouble." And I was like, "Oh, okay, good to know." So, yeah, you never know who you're going to meet. But I really don't know what the answer would be for you wanting to go to the USA. But, I didn't know what the answers were coming out here to Ireland. But because I've stayed in hostels and because I've met people and this guy knows this guy and that guy can get you this thing and blah, blah, blah. I'm somebody who started off really shy in life, and there's no room for that out here. But at the same time, if you open yourself up and you allow yourself to be vulnerable, people also will come and talk to you. And so I've had some luck, thanks, Val, with just getting to know people. And so I can tell you that it was a tough day today, but I'm going back tomorrow. And when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Kind of cliche, but it really does fit in this situation. So I will continue to do these vlogs. I'll probably be doing a lot more vlogging because this is also something that is part of the new me that, I have been wanting to inspire people. And what am I doing with this phone if I'm not using it to just share my foibled attempts at living a better life with all of you? And it's not to say if you try something you'll fail. Yeah, fail is just figuring out how you can't do it. Eventually the way you can do it will present itself, and I can't wait to show that to all of you. But I can tell you that this is all part of the process. So even like a day like today is still not failing. It's all winning. There are no mistakes. There are no wrong moves. There's just the thread of all the sequence of events that are part of the overall big picture of what your life will be, the story of your life will be. And so I'm starting with the end in mind, picturing how I want my life to be, and just looking back on all of this, even though I'm right here, right now, saying, "Oh, I remember when I worked at that crazy restaurant, or I couldn't understand anybody, and but I remember how kindly everybody was, and those were good times when I didn't have anything. Now I can just stretch out in my, lofty loft or whatever." Yeah. So, any other questions, comments? I will be back, maybe not tomorrow, but soon. Yeah, I really hope that my messages, my work, this vlogging is touching somebody out there in a very spiritual way, and really getting to the heart. I hope that whatever you might be hearing is really touching you and saying, "This is exactly what I needed. I'm going for it." And go for it. You'll have my support because I'm out here on a string. I'm like that poster of the cat that's hanging by a rope and it says "hang in there," that's me. But I am hanging in there, and yeah. So with that, I'm gonna wish you all a fond adieu. I don't know what time it is wherever you are, but currently in Ireland, it's dark. So, and it's late, and I'm gonna get some shut eye. But I love you all. I truly do. We're all brothers and sisters on this spinning rock that's going 17,000 miles an hour in the middle of absolutely nowhere, revolving around a sun. So, with that, have a great evening, day, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And aloha.